2, 1. Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 226, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
We are back for another episode, rocking it out. Yeah, can you believe it? It's been like 2 weeks in a row. It's amazing.
I know. It's just something we do.
Yeah, we are back at it, and if you guys have been following our Facebook feed, you saw this last weekend that I put together a new computer. You can see the crappy monitor that I'm using to get everything installed on it, sitting back there. In the process of getting everything, all the hardware is in, and it all works. I am in the process of getting all the software on and getting it all tested so that I know that we can do the podcast on there, and then that will be the new podcasting rig. I'm in the process of moving some games over to it so I can have it for my gaming machine as well, and on top of all of that, there will be a blog post, believe it or not, and a Facebook post about kind of how I went through picking these parts out and what the parts list is. So if you couldn't tell from the picture what all the parts were, you'll be able to click on a link and see all of the parts that I used for this computer, and I'll even put I'll put how much I spent on it, because the website that I use to put all the parts together and check for compatibility is a really cool website. It's called PCPartPicker.com, and it allows you to basically build a computer, find all the parts that you need, and then that website will tell you if there's any compatibility issues, if you've got a tower that you've picked that's too small for the motherboard that you're using, or if the video card you have picked out is too big for the case, or if it's too big for the motherboard. It'll notify you of that. So it's really kind of cool, really helpful, and it also gives you the price of everything. So it aggregates it from Newegg and Amazon and a few other websites that sell computer parts, and so it gives you the lowest price, and you can actually look at all the different places on how much they all are. It'll let you know if there's any rebates, mail-in rebates, and things like that. Really cool, really helpful. So I've got more on that coming here shortly. I'm in the process of writing it. I'm about halfway done, and that'll be my first blog post. So I hope you guys enjoy that. So Kip, what have you been doing? I mean, I've been doing a ton. What have you been doing?
Well, in comparison, nothing. I did. We had for lack of better words, a work outing at Top Golf. And I haven't swung a golf club in probably 10 years. And
Nice.
So I'm thinking this is going to go poorly.
Not at Top
If
Golf.
you've never been to Top Golf, it's interesting. It's not just a driving range. Besides being able to get drinks and food there, the driving range is filled with these holes that are different colors. The closest ones are red. The next ones are yellow, and then it's like green and brown and white,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So, and then they've got these the holes are humongous, and then it has like rings to it, and then the closer you get to the pin, and if you get it in the hole there, the more points you score.
Yeah. They're like
So
giant
the golf balls have a
targets.
little chip in it so they know it's yours, and so wherever it ends up, they can score you on. So there's 7 of us and at least three of us look like we could really play golf. Me not being one of those three.
But that's the best part of Top Golf. If you don't know how to play golf, you can still go there and have a good time.
Yeah, and I know how to play golf. I used to be a low 80s golfer. That's nothing to write home to mom about, but it's for a recreational golfer. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I hadn't swung the club in 10 years. My first three balls off the tee were horrible. I'm surprised nobody died. But with all that said, I was high scorer in 3 of the 4 games we played, and the one game I wasn't high scorer, I was second.
Oh man.
I gave these guys so much hell. It's like, you should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. I whipped your asses.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the first game, like I said, I scored no points on my first 3 balls. I mean, they went off to the right. They were in the net. There was nothing.
Yeah.
And I ended up scoring 144 points.
Oh, wow.
I think the next closest person to me, I don't even think broke 100.
Oh, man.
It's like, whoa, that's pretty good. You know, well, it was a fluke. It won't happen again. Next game, I scored 242 points.
Holy cow. What did you do? Were you guys playing closest to the pin?
Well, the game does it for you.
Right. Well,
So
because
we
there's
just-
different game, like there's different setups you can do. Like one where you have to hit it in the red one, and then you have to hit it in the
Yeah.
white one, and
This one, the first 3 games we played was just hit it in a hole. We don't care
Yeah.
what color it is.
the closest you
And-
get to the middle, the more points you get.
Yeah. So it also gives you bonuses if you get it in the same hole in consecutive turns.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that I was hitting this one hole pretty damn consistently with the 3-wood.
Yeah.
So I just walked up there with a 3-wood, and like one time I hit the hole 6 times in a row.
Oh,
So you can
man.
imagine the bonuses on
Oh
that
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
There's one time it dribbled into the hole and I scored 28 points. Normally that's like 3. I scored 28 points and they're like, "What the hell is that?" It's like, I don't know. I guess the game likes me, but it was because it was like my 6th time hitting that hole in a
Right.
row. And
That's
so
awesome.
I just wiped the floor with him, and they're like, "Well, he's just going up there and ripping it. We should play something where he shows some skill." So we played the one where you get 5 shots at the red hole, you get 5 shots at the yellow, and then 5 shots at the green. And
Yeah.
if you accidentally hit it into another hole, it's minus points.
Yep.
I whipped everybody's ass in that one.
Oh man, that's funny. So
Yeah.
so I've been there a couple times, and my situations went similar to yours on the first part of it, where it was less about how good you were at hitting a specific hole so much as you were just going up there and doing the same thing over and over again. I could do that, and but I would purposely not try to go for, you get more points if you get the one that's farthest away than you do the close one, but I could consistently hit like the middle one, and I'm just like, I'm just going to do that over and over, like what you did, where you get the bonus points for just doing it multiple times in a row. And so I would actually be competitive with people that way. And then when they switched to the skill part where it's like, no, you've got to hit this one, and if you hit the other one, you lose points. Yeah, I would still, like, even if I were trying to hit the red one, which is close, all you got to do is like dribble it off the edge and it will fall into this hole. I still would end up hitting it too hard and it would go to the next one and I would lose points. I'm like this actually trying to hit things was way harder for me than it should have been, but
Yeah.
it's still
Well,
so much fun.
It is fun. The sharpshooter one, got up there and we used a sand wedge to get it into the red. And just like you said, you just barely swing the club enough to get it past the net. and then it just bounces and rolls into the red.
Especially if you're on, because it's multiple floors. So, so if you're if you're like on like the top floor, like it's all you got to do is get it past the net, and sometimes you don't even have to get it past the net because if you hit the net, it'll go through the holes of the net and then still fall into that hole. So
Yeah. We were on the level that you enter in through the front door.
oh, okay. So I think that's
Yeah.
like the second floor.
Yeah, I think that's the second
I think
level.
there's actually one level below it.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
I did that. I started off, I got the first one in. It's like, all right, awesome. And then the second one just barely missed it, and then it rolled all the way to the yellow. It's like, well, there's a -1. So that's not a great start. So first one I made 3 points, second one was -1, so I'm sitting at 2. The third one I hit right in the hole, and I think I got 4 points because I got it a little closer to the pin. It's like, all right, I'm at 6. Next one, -1. It's like, okay, I'm at 5.
At least you're
And
going
then
two
we
steps
were,
forward, one step back.
yeah. So we were supposed to go five each, and then switch, and then go 5, and but for some reason I stopped at 4. I don't know why. So it went around to everybody, and then it was everybody's turn to shoot at yellow, but I only took 4 shots at red, so my turn started off shooting at the red one first, and then I had 5 more to shoot at the yellow. I made all 6 of those in a row.
Oh, wow.
I actually hit the center on the red one,
Nice.
and then the next 5 all hit the yellow perfectly. And I was like, holy crap, I guess I'm okay at this. And then, everybody got their turn at the yellow, and I was like, I've got a pretty good lead on everybody. This is kind of weird. And then we got to the green. It's like, okay, because I used the sand wedge for both the red and the yellow. It was a full sand wedge for the yellow. So now I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to need to get to the green, so I picked a 9-iron. Hoping it wasn't too much club, hoping I wasn't thinking too much of myself and it wasn't enough club. I wasn't sure. So I got up there, I took a swing, expecting the worst, straight as an arrow, dead center. It's like, wow, tonight is my night.
Now, so the first question that I need to ask before you keep going, how many whiskeys had you had at that point?
Okay, so I had 1 Moscow Mule and 1 Woodford Reserve bourbon on the rocks. And that was it.
So there's your sweet spot then. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
that's my sweet spot. And it was amazing. Like I said, I haven't swung a club in 10 years, and when I did, I wasn't this good.
Right?
I think it was because I knew I wasn't going to hit the ball far, so I didn't try to hit the ball far. And then all of a sudden things just started working. So, pretty amazing stuff. The best part about it is, well, there's 2 really good parts. One, I have bragging rights over my entire team until the next time I go to Top Golf, which who knows when that'll be. It could be a whole year. And then the second part about it was I was teasing, going, hey, what do I win for being highest scorer? There was actually a prize for highest score, so I got a $50 gift card to Amazon. So
nice. That's even better.
I think if I would have known there was a prize, I wouldn't have done as well. But
Did you take a picture of the final score?
I should have.
The crap of everyone, so that's what happened with my work when I went with a few guys from my work. Is they took a picture of the final score and then they hung it up on the board in the department and said, like, here, look at this. And the one guy that plays golf regularly finished last, and the rest of us all finished ahead of him. And the rest of us like never played golf or played,
that would have been good for a little bit, but most of my team works in another city.
Oh, true.
So nobody would have saw it but me. But still, right. I should have taken a picture of it.
Still would have felt good for you.
Yeah. so I finally, the old man of the group, schooled the kids. It was great.
That's awesome.
Oh, and sadly, I woke up the next morning expecting to be sore in my core from all the twisting.
Yeah.
No, it was my hand and my
In your wrist.
forearm. I guess
Yeah.
I had a death grip on the club or something. So
That's great. Oh, that is awesome.
yeah, it was so much fun.
That is awesome. Yeah, we'll have to do that sometime. You and I'll have to go play sometime. Nothing else, just to you know, just to goof off because it's a lot of fun. Like I had a lot more fun doing that than I thought I would. I was hesitant about doing it the first time that I went because I'm like, golf's just not my thing. I've tried playing golf and it's just never really worked for me. But honestly, going and playing Top Golf, like it's the perfect mixture of golf and video games
Yeah,
to really just make it fun. So
yeah,
I recommend it.
yeah. I do too. Now I've got a lifetime membership. So
Oh, do you really?
yeah, whatever level my boss signed us up for, it came with a free lifetime membership.
So what does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know if the membership costs, but I got it for free. I don't know if I'm going to get like discounts for it. I don't know. All of a sudden,
Huh.
I just got this email saying, "Hey, congratulations!" And so I asked my boss, like, "What the hell is this?" He's like, "Oh yeah, everybody gets a membership for being here today." And it's like, "Oh, sweet."
Yeah, you'll have to look into see what all that is. I have a card for it. Like I have the card that they give you, so you don't have to. Um, so I don't have to go stand in line to get another one. They can just recharge that one at the bay or whatever.
And
But
maybe that's what it is. I don't know. All I know is I got this email that I have to take in, so they can scan the QR code and give me my membership card. So it's probably the
cool.
same thing you've got.
I don't know.
It probably just sounds better than it actually is, but
That
who
could
knows?
be. That very well could be. But who
But it's
knows?
like, sweet, I'll take it.
Sounds
I don't
cool.
know if I'll ever go back on my own, but hey, what the hell?
Yeah. We'll yeah, maybe we'll get when Eddie and a few other guys, when some of the guys from the podcast arcade are down, we'll take them to Top Golf. How about that?
I like this idea. Yeah.
So,
And I just don't expect to play that well ever again in my life, but at least have it one time I could say, I really played golf well.
yeah. Yeah. One time you did well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So,
And there were 6 other people there to witness it. So,
that's great. That's the best part because now it's like you can be like, "No, really, I did play really well and did really good. Talk to these people."
yeah, they're still mad about it.
So, have you finished Luke Cage yet?
No.
You need to finish that. And I got to throw this out here because over the weekend I went and saw Ant-Man and the Wasp. Have you seen it yet?
No, this is a Geek Vibe first.
Geekvice first. Morph goes and sees a movie that just came out before Kip. Before him. Everybody put this on your calendars. I did something before Kip when it came to a movie. Um, I think that's hilarious. Now, we'll talk more about the movie once Kip gets to go see it. I thought it was really good, and my experience with it was a little different because we went and saw it at the drive-in instead of going to a movie theater.
Oh,
And
nice.
so we'll talk about that more, but thumbs up from me, and the drive-in was actually really kind of cool. This is the first time I've ever gone to a drive-in, so I thought it was a lot of fun, and I will definitely do it again. So I think that might be the perfect way to get my wife and kids to go see a movie that I want to go see. So that might be happening a little bit more often. Although, of course, now we're hitting the end of summer where the movies aren't going to be at the drive-in. I'm pretty sure they
Yeah.
don't have the drive-in running in the winter.
Yeah, probably not. The last time this will tell you how long ago it was. The last time I saw a movie at the drive-in was the second Austin Powers movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was... What the hell, early...
I was married, but not to my current wife. That's how long ago it
I was
was.
gonna say, I was trying to think of when that movie came out. Was that late 90s?
I think so.
Early 2000s, something like that.
I, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, man.
Yeah. Everything I do was the last time I did this was a long time ago.
That's what happens when you get old.
Yeah, it totally is.
But
It was 2002?
2002.
No,
See?
no, it was the Spy Who Shagged Me. That's the one. 1999.
That's the first one.
No, that's the second one.
Oh, that's the second
International Man of Mystery is the first one in 97.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so
the
99.
one with Heather Graham, the second one. That's the one we saw at the movie theater at the drive-in.
Gotcha. Yeah. There was I had a lot of fun, and there's one that's not far. It's only about 30 minutes south of us, and out in the middle of nowhere. So really kind of cool. So, but enough of that stuff. Let's get into the real Geekvice stuff, which is board games. And this is a game that you have is fairly new in your possession, isn't it?
Yeah, I got it for my birthday in June.
So it's called Letters from Whitechapel. It is a tense cat and mouse game of murder and hidden movement. If you play as Jack, which is Jack the Ripper, can you escape? If you play as an investigator, can you find Jack before he kills again and disappears in the London fog? So you are a big fan of these hidden movement games because you have several of these, don't you?
I now have 3. I have Fury of Dracula.
Which I've played with you.
Yes, and then I have Scotland Yard.
Which I think I've played with you as well.
And now I have Letters from Whitechapel.
Which I have not played yet.
Yeah, you have not played this. It had been on my radar for a while. This game has been out, sadly, out without being in my possession for quite a while. I'm stalling so I can look up the exact date.
I got it.
Yeah, it's one of those games I've been talking about for a long time. I was like, I should get this, I should get this, I should get this. And finally I got it for my birthday. It's like, well, I guess I'm getting it.
Well, it won
2011 is when it came out.
And it won the 2011 Golden Geek Best Thematic Board Game. Or I guess it was a nominee for that. For Best Thematic Board Game.
Yeah. And the theme is pretty heavy. Well, not heavy, but the theme plays big in this game. So the game holds 2 to 6 people. And the way the game is played, I think it plays exactly the same with 2 people as it would with 6. And the reason I say that is there's 6 roles in the game. And all 6 are always in the game, no matter how many people are playing.
Oh, okay.
So there's always somebody playing Jack the Ripper. And then there's 5 investigators. So if it's just 2 people playing, one person controls all 5 investigators and one person's Jack the Ripper. And then as you add more people, you divide up the investigators. So the game is played over a series of days, I guess is the quick of it. And each day is broken up into 2 pieces. The first part is called Hell. The second part is the Hunting. So night 1, let me take one step back. One of the things I really like about this game is setup is part of the gameplay.
Oh, really?
And I'll explain that to you. So the board game is a map of Whitechapel, suburb, I guess, of London, in 1888. There are spaces on the board that are numbered, and then there are spaces on the board that are just black squares. Here's like a small snapshot of what that would look like. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jack moves along the numbered spaces. The investigators move along the squares, and the squares are, I think they consider intersections. I think that's what they call them.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to call them intersections. And so cops do not land on the circled numbered spaces. Jack never lands on their intersection spaces. And here's how the setup works, which is also part of the gameplay, as I said. You get, as Jack the Ripper, you get, I think it's 8. All this stuff is perfectly good in my head, and then when I go to explain it, it's like, oh, it's gone. Yeah, it's eight white wooden discs. And I'm trying to explain this without showing the screen too much for people who are listening on iTunes, but I'm going to show it on the screen anyway. Watch YouTube. So anyway, I'll dig one of them out here. So there's 8 of them, and they're white discs. And here's one, and you can see both sides are white. And then there's some where one side has a red circle on it.
Okay.
And Jack, there are spaces on the board that are red circles. Those are places in history where he actually performed his hideous acts.
Okay.
Where he actually murdered one of the women of the night. So Jack takes these 8 tokens, discs, whatever you want to call them, and places them all white side up on the board. 3 of them have no red circle, 5 of them do. And he places them. And so he knows where. So there's only 5. They're called wretched pawns. These poor girls. There's only 5 of those. So the discs that have the red dot on them will indicate where those 5 pawns go. So not only does Jack get to decide who he's going to murder, he also gets to somehow decide what spaces they're going to be on.
Okay.
So this is the cat and mouse part of it. So he places them in secret. And then the police get their chance at I guess I'll explain that. The police get black discs that are just like the white ones, except for 5 of them have a colored dot on the back.
Okay.
The colors matter because the color tells you which investigator.
Gotcha.
Some of them have no black dot on it. So Jack puts his out. The police there's a whole series of cards that you shuffle, and you draw one, and that's the lead investigator for that night. Gotcha. That person takes those black discs and with the black side up, places them on the square spaces that are outlined in yellow, saying these are the starting spots for the police, but you don't know which ones have colored discs and which ones are decoys.
Okay.
He places them not knowing which one are white discs with the red dot and which one are decoys. So set up, there's a cat and mouse aspect to it.
Okay.
And then once the police get theirs set, then Jack reveals his white discs, and every one of them that has a red dot, you put a pawn showing that there's actually one of these wretched women on there. The actual chance to be murdered.
Okay.
I got the expansion, so my pawns actually are miniatures.
That's
so
cool.
My wretched pawn is actually a girl. And the original pawns look like that.
Okay.
So he places his. Now the police then reveal theirs, and they have colored dudes for their pieces, and then they reveal all of theirs, get rid of the ones that were decoys, place the pawns where the colored circles were, and now you're kind of ready to begin. At the before all that went down, I forgot to mention it, all of Jack's movements are, of course, in secret.
Sure.
The game gives you a nice little fold-out shield to put up. It also has the map, the copy of the board on it, so you're not looking at the board so they can follow your eyes. You're looking at your screen so they can't tell where you're looking.
Oh, that's cool.
And then you get this sheet of paper that you keep track of where Jack is at.
Okay.
The first thing you do is there's a circle at the top. That is Jack's hideout. You write the number of where you want Jack's hideout to be on the board on that space on the page.
Okay.
And then you, after everybody's revealed, Jack has picked his hidden place, then he picks who he wants to murder. And it's a little more complicated than that, slightly. Well, you get 15 rounds. The goal is, if you're Jack, you murder somebody, you make it back to your hideout within 15 rounds and without being arrested by the investigators.
Okay.
That's how Jack survives that night.
So there's 15 rounds in one night.
Yes.
Okay.
There can be actually up to 19 because there are spaces, kind of like negative numbers, moving backwards, and that is Jack can choose to delay his decision on who to murder, and each time he does, it adds another step for him to be able to use to try to get back to his hideout.
Gotcha.
The downside for Jack is on the investigators part of the turn, they get to move the wretched pawns.
Oh. Okay.
So that takes us to movement. So how does movement work? Well, Jack gets to move one numbered space at a time. He can cross over as many of the black squares. As long as he doesn't cross over another number, he can go from one number to the next.
Okay.
But only one space at a time. Unless he decides to use one of these special movement tokens that you get. One is a carriage. Da-da-da.
Okay.
And one is this lantern, which means he took an alley. The carriage allows him to move 2 numbered spaces. But there is a movement track on the board that you will put the carriage over the 2 numbered spaces to show that he took a carriage, so people know, okay, he went 2 spaces, and then Jack writes the number of the spaces he's been to on the sheet. That's how you keep track of where he's at.
Okay.
The lantern, if he spins that means he cut through an alley. And the whole thing is broken up into blocks. You've seen Subdivision. You've seen maps.
Yep.
If he is on one numbered space, he can cut through a block and get to another numbered space.
Okay.
So, in some instances, that could be like jumping 3 spaces.
Yeah.
In some instances, it's the same as using a carriage because the blocks really aren't that big, but it's nice. It's still an interesting tactic because, and I did this once, I put down the lantern to make it look like I cut through an alley, but I really just went to the next space. It was a legal move because I could use the alley to get to that space,
Right.
but I also could have just used it a normal move without using the lantern to move to that space.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
the investigators that were following me looked at the big block I was on and went, "Oh, he jumped all the way over here," when really I just moved one over to the left.
Oh, nice.
And it completely threw them off to where I was going.
Sure.
So, on Jack's turn, he starts on the numbered space where the murder took place. He decides, okay, I killed this one on space 84. And you're given these little colored discs, and you put the red one down on space 84. That tells them this is where the killing happened. That ends the first part, which is hell. Thus begins the second part, which is hunting. And on nights 1 and 2, Jack goes first. So he's on space, say 84. We'll just go with this one game here that was played. My home space was 18. I did a kill on 84. On my first move, I moved to space 67. So I wrote 67 there. Nothing on the board tells them where I am other than I was at one time where this red disc was.
Sure. Okay.
Now, the investigators go. So whoever's controlling, like the lead investigator goes first. They get to move 2 squares
Okay.
on a turn. So they all move, trying to figure out where Jack went. And then once they're done moving, they get to do a phase which is called clues and suspicion. They get to, wherever they are, if you can draw a path to a circle without jumping to more than one circle, so it's called adjacent, but if you're sitting on a square, you can ask each numbered circle that is connected by a line to your square and ask, had Jack been here? Had Jack been here? And Jack's Ripper tells him yes or no. As soon as they ask one that he had been at, their turn is over. We take one of these yellow discs and put it on that spot so they know at one time Jack was there.
And just in that day, right?
Just in that day.
Just in those 15 rounds.
Yes. And so they all do this. And then it goes back to Jack's turn, and then I decide where I'm going to go. And so on this one, I went to space 53. So I moved to space 53. And then they all move their 2 turns and try to figure out where the heck I'm at and all this other stuff. This one took me 10 rounds, and I made it back to my home base. So first night I made it back to the home base. So what happens when you make it through the first night is you take off all the clue tokens, but you leave the red token where the murder happened. Jack can no longer use that space anymore to kill.
Okay.
You also remove that white pawn from the game and the white disc from the game that corresponded with it. So now Jack is only working with 7 and 4 girls to kill.
Right. Okay.
And the police stay where they are. So Jack removes the one girl out, does the whole part again where he places his white tokens white side up, and you don't know where the murder happened. And it's on the same red circles as before, except for the one he already killed on.
Okay.
The police, it's a little different this time. Now you draw a new lead investigator by pulling up a new card. That person then takes the black discs and replaces them, or replaces the police mini with a black disc. Everywhere there was a police mini, he places a black disc. It could be the same color, it could be a different color, it could be a decoy, but it has to be in the same space.
Okay.
And then he finishes off with his decoys, putting him on the
The
rest
rest
of
of the
his
discs.
discs, putting him on the squares with the yellow.
Okay.
So he could have put all the decoys out in place of where
The
maybe he
investigators
had
were.
police minis way off base. And then he
Yeah.
could have taken the colored ones and put them in other places and put them on the original starting squares to tighten the net. But
Yeah.
Jack doesn't know what he's done.
Right.
And then we do the whole thing again. Jack reveals where the wretched pawns are going to be. The police reveal where they're going to be. Jack decides to kill somebody, put the token down, and the race is on again.
Okay.
That goes if Jack makes it back to his hideout the third night. Same stuff. Remove that wretched pawn. Remove everybody. Keep the red tokens there. Leave the police where they are. And this time, the third night is different. The third night, Jack kills 2 people.
Ooh.
Any order he wants.
Okay.
So you just know he killed these 2 people. You don't know if he's on which square.
Which one of those two he's on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the third night, the police go first. Once the murder has been revealed, you write them on your track as Jack the Ripper. The police go, not knowing where you're at, and then Jack goes and play continues on as normal. The fourth night, you're back down to 1. If Jack makes it back to his hideout, Jack the Ripper wins. The police, on their turn, during the clues and suspicion phase that I talked about, where they can ask if Jack has been at any of these places, they could forego that to try to make an arrest. So if you were on space, and this happened to me in the first game I played, I was on space 21. The guy asked if I was I was hoping he was just going to look for clues, but instead he goes, I'm going to make an arrest on space 21. I was on space 21. It's like, yep, so the cops won.
Oh.
If the answer is no, their turn ends. That's it. They don't lose. It's just that investigator's turn is over. So, as looking for an arrest doesn't have a huge downside other than you don't get to ask for clues on all the circles around you.
Gotcha.
That's the basics of the game. There are some things that go with the game that are like add-ons if you want to make it a little bit harder or easier for the investigators. The game is called Letters from Whitechapel, and one of them is Jack gets these letters, and it gives him special things that he's able to do. What does this one do? This one's called Dear Boss, and Jack moves a police patrol token with whether the disc, whether it is marked or not, he can't look at it, and then move it to another section on the board. So, and he can only do this on the second night, it looks like. Starting with the second night. So anything from second night and beyond, he could use this letter, and before the reveal happens, he could take one of the last discs and move it from one yellow bordered square or from one spot where a police officer was and move it to a different yellow bordered square somewhere else on the board.
Nice.
This one, it's like it says from section A or section C. If you look at the board, they are divvied up in 4 sections, A, B, C, and D. So you would see that and say, okay, if anybody's in A or C, I can move them.
Gotcha.
So that adds a level to it, the letters. And then there's also basically character cards and other things that he can do that have special. You can do as an investigator, has special powers and things like that too. be able to do things, so it adds another level of complexity to the game. I highly recommend not using any of that stuff for the first 2 or 3 times you'd play, I guess.
Okay.
Because you need to really get a feel for how this game is played. I say that because I've played it 3 times now. Once as Jack the Ripper and twice as an investigator. And Jack the Ripper is yet to win.
Okay.
I don't know if that says anything about us as players, but...
You're not sadistic murderers, so it makes it a little harder for you.
Or we're just not smart enough to be hidden movement geniuses. I don't know. But I got caught on the 3rd night. Mainly because we played it wrong. No surprise there. We got a rule wrong. The first time we played it, we didn't realize you leave the cops where they are.
So you
rearranged and we moved them all back to the starting position. On the 2nd night, when you kill somebody, or 3rd night when you kill 2 somebodies, those spaces, you move the police officer once. The spot he's sitting on, you could just go ahead and make the arrest. It's that easy to get to.
So gotcha.
That's why they had to where you leave the police officers in place. Other than that, you will get arrested every time on night 3.
Okay.
There's no way around it.
Yeah, because of where those murders are going to happen.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
First time through, I was Jack the Ripper. I got arrested on night 3. That's when we realized there's got to be a better way to do this. We read the rules like, the investigator probably wasn't going to be there. So
yeah.
So the next time we played, I was one of the investigators. And I think we have the card here. Tell you what night Jack was arrested on that game. Sadly, it was on the first night.
Oh, man.
Yeah. You have to be really strategic as Jack, picking not only where your hideout's going to be, because it's there for the rest of the game.
Right.
And the order in which you choose the locations.
Okay.
When I did it, I decided night 1 I'm going to pick a pretty far away spot from my home base and work my way back. And then each successive night be closer and closer to my home base so it's easier to get to. Seemed like a sound strategy. Made it to the 3rd night until misplaying the rules, caught Jack.
Okay.
The second game we played, I'm not sure what his tactic was as far as selection, but his movement tactic was to move in one direction and then double back to force all the investigators to go towards one area and then just leave that scene go in a different direction. Unfortunately for him, there was some lag, some trailing guys that were so far away that by the time they got there, they were in the double back spacing and was able to arrest him.
Gotcha.
So there's some strategy to being Jack. It's actually harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So when you're the investigator and you get to you said when you're looking for clues, you basically just ask, has Jack been here? Has Jack been here? And you get to ask that. I mean, are you looking at like 4 spaces that are around? Is it like
Sometimes it could be 5 or 6 spaces as long as they're adjacent to your square.
And you can ask as many times until you find a spot that he has been at, and then you can't ask anymore, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Per investigator.
Right. So you could, you're covering a lot of ground, or can be covering a lot of ground.
You're covering a hell of a lot of ground. The first time we played, where I was Jack, one of the times he asked for a clue, has Jack been here? It's like, yes, I was currently there, but he didn't ask to arrest. So
And you
game continued on.
okay.
And
But
then at
there
that
was no
point,
way, but there was no way for him to know if you had been there or like if you were there or not, you know, unless he had like spaces leading up to it that he could maybe be like, oh, well, this one he had already said he was there or had been there. Maybe this is the one where he's at now. Like,
well, that was when I used that lantern to hide where I actually
ah,
moved, and he thought I was a space further up, so he didn't make the arrest.
gotcha.
And then it worked out because he thought I was the next space down, and there was 2 clue tokens behind where I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I just backtracked on those, went around him, and made it to my hideout and hid my tracks because I doubled up on some spaces, so they never
Okay.
asked those spaces again.
Gotcha.
It worked out nicely. But if I hadn't done that trick with the lantern, he may have been smart enough to say, I'm going to make an arrest on space whatever it was, like 54 or whatever. I would have been
Right.
caught.
Wow.
So you really, I haven't figured out the strategy yet, but there's got to be a strategy to placement, and then there's got to be a good sound strategy for your movement, because 5 investigators on this map closes a lot of ground in a short time, especially when they get to move 2 and Jack only gets to move 1.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't wait to play again. It's more tense than you expected to be. It's just, oh, it's a board game, no big deal. You can feel the tension.
Yeah.
You really can, especially when you're Jack and they're right there.
Yeah.
All he has to do is say, I'm making an arrest on this spot, and you're done. And they don't. Or you're thinking, oh my God, if he moves here, I'm screwed. And then they move the other way. It's like, oh, thank God. And you can't show any emotion. You're just sitting there like, don't pick that spot. Don't pick that spot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I really enjoyed it. It's, like I said, it's 2 to 6 players. It says an hour plus. I guess that just depends on how quickly people can make decisions.
Right. Well, and I'm sure if it ends on turn one, if it ends on day one, if you catch them on day one, you haven't been playing an hour. So
Yeah.
and yeah, Board Game Geek has it listed at 120 minutes playtime.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm gonna guess that's if you play the entire game. If Jack wins, you might be playing 2 hours.
yeah, that's exactly right. This says, hell, I hate it when they put it on the box like this. Yeah, it just says 1+ hours on the box.
Yeah,
And
and that's probably an average type thing. So.
yeah, yeah, because I'd say even the one where the game ended on the first night, we went a long way. We
Sure.
took a long time to get there. We had a full complement of players. We had all 6. And there is some people that just suffer from analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
it's like,
especially in a cooperative game like that, it makes it, it's I guess I call it semi-cooperative because the investigators are all talking and working together on what they want to be doing. And if you've got 5 people playing each of the investigators, I can see the discussion and the brainstorming of what you're gonna do. Really, it could really end up taking a lot more time than if you've got just 2 people playing and one person's all 6. That one person, or all 5, that one person playing all the investigators would be able to make decisions a lot quicker because he or she, that person knows what they're doing at the same time, for all the different characters.
yeah, exactly. So if you have a group that you like to play cooperative games with, I think this one would be a perfect game for that. If you have a group of one person kind of dictates a cooperative game, it may not be the best game for your game group. at that point, that person probably should just play a two-player game with somebody because they're going to want to run the show. But
Right.
the way this works, um, they could be like, I have no idea, I'm going to go this way. You could be like, okay, I see where you're going. I'm going to flank you to this side to close this gap. I mean, you can play it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it really gets down to the wire where you're all like, he has to be here. He has to be here. And then you go make the arrest there and he's not there. It's like, I did the math. He had to be there. But if they double back or they do something unexpected, you could be off by one and you're completely lost.
Yeah.
So I really like it for that aspect. I highly recommend this game for people who like cooperative and who are not afraid of the murder theme. So probably you don't want to play with your young boys. But
I would just
if
get
that's
stuck explaining who Jack the Ripper is and
yeah.
why.
So
Why
if you
we're
want to play a
murdering.
hidden movement game with younger audience, I highly recommend. I just said it, Scotland Yard.
Scotland Yard, yeah.
If it's adults and you don't mind the theme, I recommend Letters from Whitechapel over Fury of Dracula.
The way you explained Letters from Whitechapel, I would actually agree with that too. Letters from Dracula, I liked it, but
It's too heavy.
yeah, it's almost overly complicated. It's almost complicated to the sense of it pushes you away a little bit, and
Yeah.
each turn can take so long, and um, the it yeah
And you
it
have
was
all these cards with abilities, and you forget what you have, and
yeah, it was
that's
fun. I enjoyed playing it, but this one sounds right up my alley. Like I really want to try this one.
it's a
So,
good.
some information from Board Game Geek, so people can go find this. It's Letters from Whitechapel. It came out in 2011. It's got a rating of 7.5 on Board Game Geek, so it's actually really good. Age recommendation is 13 plus. The community says 12 plus. It's all about the same. It does have a complexity rating of 2.68 out of 5. So it's pretty high on that complexity rating, but still not terrible. Um, 2 to
No,
6.
the complexity honestly comes from the players.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have somebody who's really good at playing Jack the Ripper, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see
Uh,
that.
so
Board Game Geek even recommends 2 players. Says it's best with 2 players. So
and I could see that.
I can see, I can see that being there. I can actually see it being, I can see it being, can be easier for Jack the Ripper with more people out there because they end up like not working together. If you get 5 investigators that are playing that aren't working together, could probably make Jack's life a little bit easier. Where if you have one person playing 5 investigators, it's really hard for them not to work together. But you never know.
Yeah, I best with two. I think is a matter of opinion. I think three might be its wheelhouse. Two
Yeah,
people as investigators and Jack the Ripper.
yeah, I could see that.
That still brings that cooperative aspect back into it
Mm-hmm.
without it being too many people and really muddying it up.
Yeah, yeah,
So I've played with six. I've played with three. I felt like three went really well.
yeah,
What's fun about this game is you'll play as the investigator, and once the game's over, somebody will say, "I want to be Jack next time,"
yeah,
because it's that kind of game. You see what from one side, and you're watching, and you're like, "I could have done better. I think I want to be Jack the Ripper next time." So it brings out that competitive nature in you as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I can see that. I can see that. Well, very cool. I like that idea. one of these times I'm going to be able to get there and
I hope
play
so.
some games with you, because it's been a long time. We need to do that again. So, all right. Well, that is what we have for this week's episode. Letters from Whitechapel. 2 thumbs up from Kip. Go check it out. You can find it, your local game store, Amazon, eBay, wherever you want to find it at. It's all there. Um, yeah. Anything else you want to throw out there?
Oh, I need to finish Luke Cage. I know that. I also have another board game I want to talk about soon,
Okay.
which is Century Eastern Wonders. So we'll have to give that a talking sometime soon.
Very good. Very good. That'll be on there. And as soon as Kip finishes Luke Cage, we will do an episode of Geekvice breaking down Luke Cage. I have finished it. He is not. That's not unusual for TV shows. I'm also watching Cloak and Dagger. I'm only a couple episodes in, but I have heard really good things about it, so I want to get some more into that. And then at some point in the coming, before the fall starts back up, I want to talk about the DC Universe and their TV shows, because I'm kind of enjoying them. So, still trying to finish Arrow. Believe it or not, that's actually become my least favorite, but we'll talk more about that later. And then when Kip goes and sees Ant-Man and the Wasp, we will talk about that movie as well. We have lots of things coming up. We've got some special guests that we're trying to work in here, and as soon as I get this computer back here up and running, then we'll start getting some more guests on, because I'll have the processing power to handle multiple streams like that. So, yeah, lots of good stuff coming. Keep coming back. And on that note, you can check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. Keep an eye on it, because I'm gonna have a post coming up there here within the next few days. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekvice. You can follow us on Twitter, that man over there, at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Easiest way to get there, go to our Facebook page. Right on the left-hand tab, there's a link to YouTube, and you can hit subscribe right from the Facebook page. It is awesome, and I recommend using that. You can also find all our videos there too. If you don't want to go to the YouTube page, but you want to see the pictures that Kip threw up there from Letters from Whitechapel, you could just do it right from our Facebook page. You don't even have to go to YouTube if you don't like it. It'll be right there. And of course, you can always reach us by email at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.